Hugh, one of the main reasons that I've actually stepped into the ring is I want to give my own children hope, which is another part of the conversation, and show them, if you like, by example, that if you want positive change, there's a point where you actually have to step up. You can't just talk about it. Yes. So how important is hope for all of us at the moment, particularly as we're hopefully pulling out of COVID?
Yes, I think COVID's got some way to run, but hope is absolutely crucial to human flourishing. We can't easily function unless we have some sense, not of certainty about the future, but some sense of optimism that things are going to work out okay. Human mental health depends on keeping our dreams alive. When people talk about depression or anxiety or loneliness, the three great epidemics that have us in their grip pre-pandemic, because our society had become so socially fragmented and so many people had been feeling not included, so much social isolation, loss of social cohesion and so on. When people feel lonely or anxious or depressed, what they almost always experience as part of that is the loss of hope.
Yeah.
The loss of any real sense that things are going to get better, or that there is a future which will include them and in which they'll have a significant role to play, or in which they'll be taken seriously. So the loss of hope is really one of the most tragic things that can happen to humans, as though we're giving up. Life is all about hope, the hope of a better tomorrow, the hope that we will build a better society, the hope that we will all be a bit more sensitive to each other's needs, that we'll be prepared to make sacrifices for the common good. That's all based on our belief in the future. We're doing this because things are going to get better. So hope is the essential ingredient in all of that. Lose hope, why would you bother?
I think it's especially important for our young people at the moment.
I mean, we know that depression is a major issue among young people. We know loneliness is the loneliest group in Australian society is the 18 to 25 age group. This is a generation, many of whom are the product of broken families and divorced parents. They've had a tough, highly competitive educational experience, a highly competitive look at the job market, the housing market, and so on. But I'm prepared to make a brave prediction about this, which sounds a bit callous, but I, of course, don't mean it to be callous. This generation of young adults who are dealing with the impact of this pandemic on their lives are going to look back on this and say, that was a dreadful time, and it was the making of us. It really clarified what matters. There is the potential for this pandemic to teach us some very important lessons about the vital importance of community, the need to be engaged with the neighbourhood, the need to look out for the people who are at risk of social isolation, the frail elderly, and people living alone, all kinds of people who we haven't perhaps thought about enough routinely, but now we've had this disruptive experience. And like most crises and catastrophes, whether it's bushfires or floods or pandemics or depressions, these things often turn out to be good for us in the sense, and I'm not dismissing at all the terrible health consequences for people who've contracted the virus or the people whose economic livelihood has been threatened. But generally speaking, for humans, in a crisis or a catastrophe or a major disruption of this kind, we revert to the essence of who we are. It suddenly dawns on us that we are all part of each other, that we need to look out for each other, that we need to reach out, be a little kinder, a little more compassionate, a little more patient, a little more understanding, because we're all living under the pressure of this experience.
One of the quotes that I loved in the book was your reference to the Charlie Mackay book, The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Horse, where the mole asks the little boy, what do you want to be when you grow up? And the little boy says, kind.
What do you want to be is a lovely question, because it goes to the essence of who we are. We can do anything. You can be a carpenter, you can be a bus driver, you can be a general practitioner, you can be a social researcher, a teacher, all these things. But what are you essentially? Is it of your essence that you are kind and compassionate in whatever role you're playing in society? Are you contributing to making the world a better place in whatever role you happen to be playing vocationally? That's not unimportant, but it's not as important as the meaning and purpose of our lives being expressed in terms of how we're going to make the world a better place through the work we're doing and through our personal relationships and so on. When the kids come home from school, and it's very tempting for parents and especially grandparents to say things like, oh, what did you learn today? Or what was school like? Not a bad habit to get into, to say, who were you kind to today? Or what was the kindest thing you saw today? Was anyone kind to you today? How did you feel about that? To get kindness on the agenda of kids. So it's just part of the language as we reflect on the day. In fact, I think if I was recommending a daily practice for all of us, I think a lovely way to end the day as a kind of evening reflection, not as a judgmental thing, but as an evening reflection, would be to say, as we reflect on the day, was I kind enough? It feels to me like a reasonably satisfactory summary of things I've been trying to say for a long time.
Well, as I say, I've read the book twice. It absolutely resonated with me, and I'm just so delighted that you've made time for me today to have a yarn about it. And win or lose, I'll do my best to try and take some of what's in there forward.
Thank you very much, mate. It's been a pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you.